How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video where we talk about the Sixers. Obviously, it's been a couple days now since the NBA lottery and the Sixers got the number three pick. But some massive news coming out yesterday. Reports that the Sixers are open to trading the number three pick, and this is big news, man, because Daryl Morey, Nick Nurse, they're all basically they're on their last legs. They're fighting for their jobs, and this is such an important season, not only for the franchise but just for them individually and them wanting to stay with the Sixers and not be fired in essence. But I just want to go back to May 15th, the day after the lottery, where not Nick, Daryl Morey went on the takeoff with John Clark radio station in Philly. And he said that the Sixers plan to take the number three pick, and I think Nick Nurse also said that the Sixers are going to take the number three pick. But a few things have changed since then, and it's now been reported the Sixers are open to trading it, which is, of course, just good business. But being Daryl Morey and the fact that he's constantly star hunting, we saw obviously last year with Paul George, you definitely it's something to be aware of, and don't not be surprised that he trades. I'm hoping he doesn't, but I think this line here from this article from Bleacher Report sums it up perfectly that there could be pressure for the 76ers to win now, especially given that the team, as constructed, was expected to be a contender. So, considering this, I want to look at some players, some trades that the Sixers could potentially look at. Obviously, the two biggest names this offseason well, I guess Kevin Durant is going to be traded at some stage, and Giannis may get traded. But let's look at KD first and foremost. Kevin Durant coming in is the perfect fit. He's unfortunately going to turn 37 years old. He's no doubt better than Paul George by still a mile, averaging 27 points. I don't think he's returning back to Phoenix from all the reports. So what would a deal for the Sixers look like? And the most obvious thing is a swap between Paul George and KD. KD's got 1 year left on his deal. He may be 37 or turning 37, but the Sixers, they could keep him for the year, let the salary expire, and then I think perhaps get a trade exception or something to generate some salary into the next off season, and you get off Paul George's a 3 year deal, which could go down as one of the worst contracts in the NBA if it's not already trending in that area. And of course, the Suns would receive the number three pick. Now, if I'm the Sixers, as good as Kevin Durant is, he's unfortunately on the older side, and it's not worth giving up the third pick for KD. If the KD was 31, 32, you would perhaps consider that quite highly. But I just don't think it's worth it at this point. I'd rather keep PG and get the third pick. I do really believe Paul George can have a bounce back year. I'm not saying he's going to live up to the contract, but I don't think he's going to be worse than I guess this previous season. The next name is Giannis Antetokounmpo, and obviously the Sixers can't just give up the third pick and Paul George for him. This is a massive deal. He's the second best player in the world. At worst, he's the second best player in the world, in my opinion. He's turning 31. He's in his absolute prime. But the big question with Giannis is not only fit with Joel Embiid, is how many years does he have left in his prime? The average age for 6'11", 7-footers is 30 years old. You see with Joel Embiid how durable is Giannis's body. And essentially, if the Sixers were to trade for him, how many years would they get out of him? Now, I think at a minimum, the Sixers would get at least 2, 3, even 4 years, being very generous here, of Giannis being at his prime. But you don't know. An injury could, upset it. So what we're seeing with Joel Embiid right now. And at the end of the day, we don't know if Joel Embiid is going to come back 100% healthy. And if you make a trade like this, I don't know. It doesn't make sense for me to give up a young player. And not only a young player, if the Sixers were to trade for Giannis, I don't think the number three pick is enough considering Paul George's contract is that terrible. We'd have to either give up Jared McCain or I'm thinking two more first round picks on top of the number three pick. So imagine it's Paul George McCain, the number three pick, or Paul George, the third pick, and another first or two more first. We're giving up too much here. Jared McCain is clearly part of the future of this franchise, and I just don't see why the Sixers could do it. But again, Daryl Morey, he star hunts. Giannis, I saw a report saying that the Bucks could be interested in this number three pick, and it's the perfect way for them to start a rebuild. So going off those two guys, I want to look at a trade that's more interesting here and more appealing between the Sixers and the Nets. Now, the Nets got the eighth pick, which is unfortunate for them considering they had the six odds right behind us. But in essence, This would be a massive swap. So the Sixers would give the third pick. We take the eighth pick, which would still get us a decent player. Nothing, no, I don't know. Definitely would still have potential, but it's not going to be like an Ace Bailey potential here. But the big thing is you get off the Paul George contract. And this also creates a $23 million trade exception, which the Sixers can use in a further trade to get better depth. Now, I'm not opposed to this trade because I think Cam Johnson is a really good player. And if we go to if we go to his contract, he's only got 2 more years left at 20 mil, and he's 29. So he fits the build perfectly here for a win now. But is it worth losing the third pick? I don't think so. If the Sixers could get another first or swap with Brooklyn the next year or two, because the Nets are going to be bad for another couple years, then I would, strongly consider. But I think right now the Sixers should really just run it back with the big three. And I say big three because it feels like it's just Maxi at this point and Joel Embiid who comes in every second week, and Paul George, if he's not podcasting, he's injured. Um, yeah, so I just don't. I just would rather see a team with Ace Bailey, Jared McCain, Quentin Grimes, Tyrese Maxey building and establishing some continuity and developing now. So when these two old blokes get off the team, we can make a second run essentially at a championship. Because right now, we haven't got much hope. It's the biggest if in the world if the Sixers can stay healthy. So I would rather them keep this pick and just build for the future. But I do like this trade way more than the other two. I don't think this. I think the Sixers are sort of winning a little bit here, but I'm not 100% convinced that we should take this trade. But again, can't trust Daryl Morey. He's star hunting. He knows his job's on the line, and it's going to come down to him. He doesn't care. He cares about us fans, but not really. He wants to keep his job. Um, so yeah, I guess let me know in the comments, guys, what you think. Appreciate you stopping by. Enjoy your day.